Right, I'm just working on the retrofit bottom drain this morning, and that's what I've come up with. It's the low profile hard kit, and then I've had to change the length of one of these pipes so it runs level with the pump, and that's from 2" into 1, because that's obviously the biggest pipe that I could get for this pump setup. And then the top of the pump, what I've done is I've put a connector with a thread on it so I can disconnect it quite quickly. Now I've put the nut on that end so the nut doesn't slip all the way down to the bottom when disconnecting it. But I can't put it in at the moment because I don't have the ballast for it, because it was like 2 kilos worth, and I just said to the family not to bother bringing it. It's just an extra 2 kilos in the suitcase. It ain't necessary. But the shop was shut this morning when I went down there, because I wanted to get some air stones and some air pipe, but that changed plan when I got there and it was shut. So I'm just messing around with the pipes and this bit just to try and get stuff sorted. But I have glued the pipes going to the filters now. So I've cleaned out the bottom of the pond as well this morning, best I could. It's a lot clearer now. So I'm just going to put the pump back in and just run it, keep running it now, and I'll disconnect it again on Monday when I can get the stones for the bottom drain. So I've still got to raise the height of the pipe work for the skimmer line, but until I refill it with water, I'm not going to do that just yet. So I'm going to get this connected back up and just let it run, and I'll come back on Monday. Right, so I'm just preparing to top the water up in the pond. I'm gonna switch this on a clean in a minute, because if you see just over here, you can see the rubbish from the mosquitoes or whatever. So I'm gonna drop the water level below the drain off, and then I'll switch the old air pump on, the air blower, and we'll see what it does. I'll come back to you in just a sec. I might switch the sound off after a few seconds because the air blower is quite loud. Right, I've dropped the water level down below the outer, so I will turn on the air blower and see what happens. Right, I forgot to film letting that go, so I'll do it on the next one, and I'll release the water, but that's where it goes, and then out there. So that's the main waste pipe from the house. So I'll do it again on the next one because I want to clean it out, and that seemed to do it quite well. I mean, it doesn't show a lot of waste, but it's only the mosquito stuff, but that water does come out at quite a pace. So yeah, I'll do the next barrel, and then I'll show you when I release the waste. Right, so this is the moving bed chamber, and I'll switch on the waste and show you where it's going. Flip the camera around a little bit. The watermelons for birds. We normally put watermelon and bananas up on this tree. That is slowly empty out. So 200 litres of water in here, so a fair amount, but I want to empty it out. It's been sat a while, so freshen it up. There's probably another 1,000 litres of water I've got to top it up. But yeah, happy with that. It seems to have the air blower is working great. So it is noisy, but it's only got to be run for like 2 minutes each, I guess, from what other people have set them at. So, oh, I can use that for something else. So yeah, I'll come back to you on another job. Right, I'm just topping up the pond now with my dechlorinated system. I did go out and buy a 45 2-inch for that outlet from the main filter system. I don't know. The 45 I think I like more. But then not having a pipe on there, I think I like even more. So one thing I do need to look at though is there's a little bit of backsplash at the minute that's going towards the back board, so I might end up having to get a piece of plastic and mastic it in just so there's no water dripping down the back. Obviously like the fish splashing around and that's a bit different, but where that's going to be like a constant flow of water, I want to try and make sure that that's it stays as dry as possible. So I'll fill it up and I'll test it again, because obviously the amount of pressure that's coming out of that return, it is, because it's dropping down about 5-6 inches at the moment, it does make a bit of a splash, so it might change in a minute, but we'll see. The retro bottom drain is now in. I'm quite impressed with that actually. Even with the 12,000 vary pump on setting number 2, that was still drawing in stuff from the bottom. Over on that side it was really good, and when it was coming just closest to that blue pipe there, it was kind of pushing it a little bit that way, but like I said, it is, I think that's going to be a brilliant addition. But we'll run it, keep trying things, testing it out. Next little job, I'm going to sort the skimmer out when the pond's topped up, so I'll come back to you when that's done. Right, so I've changed the length of the pipework on the skimmer, and that now should be in its final place. And the outlet, what I've done is I've extended it, the length of the pipe, by 3 inches. So that's stopped the splashback, and I've currently put the 45 on. So the skimmer currently on, and it's only on setting 1 at the minute. So my UV light is on the skimmer line, so at the moment I'll leave it on the lowest setting, so water travels through the skimmer nice and slow. So that's probably 500 litres an hour, I think. So real low, and that's the outlet from the main filter, so I just keep an eye on that. I did find a small leak actually on the UV, and that's where I originally thought a leak would have happened. and it was just coming out of here. So I've tightened it down, and for the last 10 minutes it stayed dry, so fingers crossed that stays dry. And everything else appears to be good at the moment, so I'm going to leave it like that for today. Right, so last night the UV continued to leak. I came out a couple of times, adjusted the clamps, the hose. It was good for like 20 minutes, and then I'll come back and it was leaking again. So what I noticed this morning, I took off this union bit, or whatever you call it, step down, and the end part snapped off. So obviously where it was clamped wasn't square, and it must have pinched it and pulled it uneven and snapped it off. I then tried putting the old PTFE tape round here, but they weren't enough to clamp it on. Even with a smaller Jubilee clip, it just wouldn't hold any sense. So I've had to redo all of the pipe work that side. That's now 1 inch compared to the 3/4, I believe. Yeah, so luckily this connector here, which is the same what I used on my vary pump in the pond, is a 1 inch adapter for electrics, and it fits the threaded part of the UV. So what I did is I screwed it in like I did on the vary pump, and then I put a little bit bead of mastic around on the inside, let it go off, and then redid all the pipe work. I was originally going to have it all hard pipe there, because it's just 1 inch to 1 inch. It was easy, but the problem is where this was masticed into here, it was then one piece. So I wouldn't have been able to take off this side of the pipe work without having to remove the whole of the UV. So I've ended up having to reuse with a piece of like the hose pipe here, like 1 inch hose pipe, and clamp it, so at least I can unclip it here, undo these, and I can still take all this off if required. Bit of a pain having to redo all of that, but I don't want it leaking, so it's got to be done. Right, so the new air pump for the old pond turned up just now, so I've switched them over. I've got the 70 litre a minute air pump back on this one, and I'm going to add these, which is the Aqua Evolution Pure Pond. It's just the small balls. There's only 80 in here. I think they decant them and just make smaller portions to make it more affordable for everyone. So I'm going to whack the full 80 in here, and then I'll order another lot, and I'll probably put another 40 in here and 40 in the first one. We'll let that do its magic. Right, so the last piece of the pond build really was putting on the net. Me and the wife's just gone along and put that on, and she's trimmed it up just to make it look as neat as possible for a net. So it's now Wednesday, the fish will be going in on Friday, so I'll put out another video once I've got some fish in there. Thanks very much.